And by my co-host, it is my turn to ride solo, which is totally fine. It is July 20th, 2023. We, of course, miss Dustin. It's always a lot more fun when both of the Freedom Bros are here entertaining you, but he is working in the swamp. Okay, he traveled to the swamp to where he has to do work, so I don't think he enjoys being in the swamp. But all that being said, today we're going to talk about the Sound of Freedom podcast and why you should go see it. But first, let's roll our very awesome over the top stinger. All right. I love it. I love it every single time. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. All right. Here's the deal. The media, we could make this podcast really short and just say the media doesn't want you to see The Sound of Freedom. The liberals don't want you to see The Sound of Freedom. So there you go. You need to go see it. I've actually watched the movie twice. For those that don't know, I'll let you know if I'm going to play spoiler at all for this movie. But the reason I wanted to do that on this podcast is because it's still in theaters. It's still rocking it in theaters and doing very, very well. Probably in large part because the media won't shut up about it. And they keep attacking it. And then if you go actually watch the movie, look, when I go to movies, I can find the political undertones in almost anything. Whether it's let's say the movie Nefarious, which is a great movie, but definitely a Christian film. And you start to realize that more later on. There's very deliberate and obvious Christian undertones to it. But with Sound of Freedom, it's based on a true story, number one. So keep in mind, it's based on a true story. It doesn't mean there weren't some liberties taken and spicing up the story a little bit. But it's based on Tim Ballard, who is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, and their entire existence is to go and save kids from sex trafficking. And my wife and I have been a supporter of OUR for a really long time. Anybody that can go and do that kind of stuff and not just take out pedos when they find them, God bless them, because I couldn't do it. Like I just could not do it. So we've been supporting OUR for a really long time. This movie was actually made quite a while ago, and Disney apparently spiked it. Didn't want to do it. And you can imagine, they would have totally screwed it up. But you can imagine how much money they could have made had they done it the way that the movie was made. So this movie was actually made quite a while ago. It sat on the shelves for a little bit. Angel Studios finally picked it up. That's the people who do The Chosen, which is also, by the way, an excellent series. And now it's in theaters. It started a little in some theaters on July 3rd and really kicked off nationwide on July 4th. It's been in far less theaters than Mission Impossible and all the really quote unquote big movies that are all failing terribly. Indiana Jones and I mean just everything that Disney is putting out and a lot of these studios are putting out are totally tanking right now. And a lot of it is because it's a bunch of woke political garbage that half the country is not going to want to go see. But when you go watch Sound of Freedom, there is no political undertones. Is the word God mentioned? Sure, but it's not in the context of a, like God's Not Dead movie, right? Where it's preachy and it's definitely a Christian movie. This is not a Christian movie. This is a movie that, whether you're liberal or conservative, this is one issue that we should be able to come together and go, this is sick, this is evil, and we should destroy anybody involved with it. Okay. There should be no discussion. If we can't find common ground on taking down pedophiles and sex rings for children who are being trafficked into this horrible evil, if we can't find common ground there, we are 100% done as a country. It's already not looking very good, right? We can't agree on pretty much anything at this point. But we should be able to come together and go, yeah, children shouldn't be kidnapped or sold into sex slavery, where they are raped and all these horrible, awful things are done to them. That should be a point of, I go to the Democrats and they come to Constitution Party or Republican or whoever, independent, doesn't not matter. we should all be able to sit down in that theater and go, yeah, this is sick and disgusting, and it's got to be stopped. Okay. And again, there is a phrase that you could say Tim Ballard has. It's God's children are not for sale. Look, maybe you don't believe in God. That's fine. Okay. Children are not for sale. Look, if you want to take God out of the equation, that's fine. But that's literally about the only quote unquote Christian thing in the entire thing. And it doesn't even have to be Christian necessarily, right? You could be any religion who has a God of some kind. And I think you would probably agree that your God would not want kids to be sold into child sex slavery. So the fact that they are trying to now, the media is really going after this movie. And it was weird because the initial attack was mostly on, and really still is, on attacking Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard and their political beliefs and beliefs that they may have outside of the movie. They attack Jim Caviezel as believing in certain aspects of QAnon. Okay. But again, this was all made, the pre-production and the production of this movie, as far as I know, and Tim Ballard has said, it was made before QAnon was even a thing. So that it predates QAnon. It had nothing to do with it at the time. It was just people who were trying to tell a story about Tim Ballard's life and him going out and trying to rescue kids from sex slavery. And it's so weird because this, getting into the actual movie now, since the media doesn't want you to watch it, which is exactly why you should go watch it, and it's killing it at the box office. At the time of this video, it hit the $100 million mark on a budget of like $14.8 million. Okay, so it's doing extremely well, especially for a low budget. And it doesn't feel low budget, by the way. You can tell there's some things that are maybe a little bit more low budget, but for the most part, overall, the movie's excellent. Very well done. The whole production is fantastic for such a small budget compared to, Indiana Jones and these other movies that have hundreds of millions of dollars in their budgets. And they're all just absolutely tanking because people are sick and tired of the political woke crap. So the movie's really well done. Everybody should go see it, despite how hard it is to watch the movie. Okay, it's PG-13. There's bad words. Obviously the theme of the entire movie is not something for little kids. Okay. I would even argue maybe you wait until you're 15, 16 to, maybe put yourself in this situation. It may be over the heads of smaller kids than that. So the topic is super heavy. The first 45 minutes it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this type of evil is in the world. They don't show anything graphic, but you know what's happening. Okay. You know exactly what's happening. And the story, and you can get this from the trailer, a boy and his sister are taken and sold into sex trafficking. And Tim Ballard's entire purpose is to go track down these sex traffickers, find the people who did it, and also find the boy and the girl who were sold. And so, spoiler alert now, I'm going to get into a few spoilers. If you've already seen the movie, that I kind of want to talk about a little bit. But if you haven't seen the movie, this is your chance to turn it off and come back to the podcast maybe after you've watched the movie. But so 3, 2, 1. Okay. So for those that have seen the movie, that beginning, and this is all going to happen. And I've heard this story because, again, we've been following Tim Ballard for so long. I know you are. But he, the dad in the beginning, they're poor, they're destitute. He's like, hey, here's this beautiful beauty queen, a female who comes and recruits, talks to the dad and convinces him that his kids would be perfect for, there's modeling or singing gigs or whatever, they could be child stars. And of course, your immediate mind is there's, would never be that this, really pretty woman is about to steal your kids and sell them to be raped and who knows what else. So you know it's coming in the movie, but I can't imagine him just like, oh yeah, that's, I mean, there's child actors and actresses all over the country, right? All over the world. So it's not like it's unheard of, and you just would never expect it to come from this woman. And he drops them off, comes back, and they're gone, right? Place is empty. He doesn't know where his kids are. And I can't, like, I got 5 kids, and I just can't imagine the feeling that must be like when they're gone and you have no idea where they went. You have no idea what just happened. You have no idea where they're going, any of that stuff. And then Tim Ballard, who's a federal agent, he wants to help with these situations, and he's part of this child crimes division, seeing and looking at and having to deal with the most horrible, awful things you could possibly imagine. And so Tim goes on a mission. Eventually he has to quit because, he's a federal agent, and a lot of this stuff is taking place in foreign countries with American consumers. And Tim always talks about how Americans are the top producers and consumers of child pornography. And he doesn't talk about this in the movie, but basically what he says is people get hooked on pornography, and little by little, what they've been watching, they become desensitized to. And so they have to change it up, and they change it up, and they change it up. And eventually a lot of these folks end up in child pornography, and then they get addicted, and then they get in that. And then at some point, the pornography doesn't become enough, right? Then they want the actual thing. And it's harder to do in the United States. And so a lot of them will go to Thailand and Colombia and all these other places where there's just not the law enforcement capabilities to stop it. And so Tim eventually quits, starts OUR, and then goes on this mission to do this huge sting operation with these sex traffickers, and then also to go and rescue this little boy and this little girl. But man, it's such first of all, the child actors were fantastic, like really just incredible. There wasn't much of a dry eye in the entire theater, through the whole movie. It's just gut-wrenching stuff. And again, I couldn't do it because the second I busted the pedo ring, I don't know that I'd have been able to just be judge, jury, and executioner all in one fell swoop. I couldn't do it. So God, bless Tim Ballard and OUR and anybody or any organization that goes out and rescues these kids and then kind of gives them a life afterward. And that's what OUR does is they rescue kids and they put them in an aftercare program, and they try to hopefully get them back to the parents. But sometimes in a lot of these poor countries, hey, some sex trafficker comes and says, look, give me 20 grand. We'll give you 20 grand and for your kid, and they'll sell their own kids. Like it's just absolutely devastating. So, millions and millions of people are in slavery. The OUR's thing is that there's more people in slavery now than there was during the height of, when we were fighting slavery, and that several million of those are kids. And, I happen to be a Christian, but I also I'm a full supporter of Jesus's method of millstones. If you harm little kids in that way, I would not mind if we just tied a millstone around your neck and threw you in the ocean. Like you are the scum of the earth. You are the worst of the worst. Anything that you do like that to little kids, I shouldn't do that stuff to anybody, but kids especially. Anyway, I would recommend go see Sound of Freedom. It's still in theaters. You still have a chance. Look it up. It's an excellent movie. Again, really hard to watch because of the sensitive topic. But to be honest, the second reason you should go see this is to support issues that the liberals just hate. And if you're a liberal, like, you should be watching this movie. You should not be opposed to watching this just because of maybe the religious or political beliefs of Tim Ballard or Jim Caviezel. I go watch a number of movies, as long as they're not woke movies. I'm sure the actors and actresses are woke. Okay. For the most part, if they're not talking about it, then whatever. I don't really care. I just want to see a good movie. This is a well put together movie. Everybody should go see it, despite the heavy topic. But really, we got to support a quote unquote parallel economy, right? We've got to support these movies like Nefarious, like Sound of Freedom, who are trying to put out good content that reaches a vast and wide audience, but isn't being produced by the woke Hollywood elite who are just destroying everything. I mean, they are ruining everything in this country. So I hope you guys will take some time to go watch The Sound of Freedom. It is an absolutely excellent, excellent movie. Very well done. And then afterward, use the motivation I promise you are going to get from that to make a difference, whether you're supporting OUR or another organization in your state or the country that is fighting child trafficking or just trafficking in general. Be sure to support those organizations with your money, your time, your efforts, or whatever you have available to do your part. So anyway, a little bit of a short broadcast today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully we'll have to see what next week brings. Maybe Dustin will finally be back next week when we go. But I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Be sure to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, on YouTube or Spotify or any of that kind of stuff. It's all over the place. So be sure to tune in and check out the Freedom Bros podcast. We love you guys. We hope you have a great weekend. Take care and God bless.